Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his Friday guest, Mr. Stephen Dow from Velocity Mortgage. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing well, man. So what I thought we'd do in video number 2 is educate people on some vocabulary that they may be hearing or reading about, and talk about the fact that, frankly, the entire non-QM space over the last 10 days or so has adjusted their floor rate. I know what that is, but why don't you help the audience understand that? Actually, before we do that, do the marketing thing so I don't get in trouble.
Yeah, mainly I don't get in trouble. Again, although I work very happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, all the ideas and topics discussed on this channel are that of my own. And so let's get it going. As far as the floor rate, every lender has different floor rates because depending upon how their business model set up, who they sell the loans to, if they service their loans, things of that nature, they'll determine the lowest possible rate that they can possibly sell that loan or book that loan on their warehouse line. So from a certain aspect, it's basically from our business model, it's what we could sell it at to least break even, or maybe make a slight profit to some extent. Anything below that, now we're taking haircuts, and now we can't sustain that because now we're not,
you're going backwards.
Loans with us, right. So that's what it comes down to. Typically speaking, for non-QM, it's not tied into the 10-year Treasury and bond markets as directly. So it's not as volatile as far as the movement in rates as opposed to conventional loans. So it's typically based upon what Wall Street's appetite was or secondary market. Right. So, I would imagine recently a lot of non-QM lenders were, booking loans from, Q4 of last year, trying to bring it to market now, securitizing them. I don't think Wall Street's now so, keen to want to buy all these loans in the low, fours and maybe high threes when 30-year fixed money is above, 4% now on the conventional side. So that's where things are starting to get adjusted. But yeah, that's basically the long and short of it as far as the explanation of what a floor rate is. But that's the lowest possible rate that lender can offer. So
yeah, so let me kind of put it my spin on it. So again, I'm really lucky on this channel because I bring in multiple experts. So Matt, the mortgage guy, is my Wednesday guest. He is that traditional owner-occ lender, right? Residential, right? 1 to 4s investor.
Right.
We talked this week, and his rates can move multiple times a day. Right. Because it is tied to the 10-year Treasury and other attributes, FHFA, and all of these things. So Matt, the mortgage guy, that's why we talk about with Matt, if you like it, lock it, because it's more of a standard process and you can do that. And again, his rates can move multiple times a day, smaller increments, but multiple times a day. When I talk to the non-QM space, and I've talked to, a dozen non-QM lenders, this floor rate moves a lot less frequently, right? There's some non-QM lenders that have the same rate for 8 or 9 months or whatever it is. But when they do move, it can be a substantial move, right? Many of the non-QM lenders that I work with recently in the last 10 days, maybe 14 days, had their floor rate move a full percentage point or more. Right. And that's why it's important to take action. That's why it's important, because again, if you're in the non-QM space, it can change it doesn't change as frequently, but the move can be significant. Is that fair?
Oh, for sure. 100% fair. I mean, you don't see that like gradual trickle down to that trend of, oh, you better, lock in you can. All of a sudden it's like, okay, it's at like 3.99, and the next day, oh, nope, we're up to 5.25 or whatever the case is. So it could be drastic and quite, quite volatile in that sense, but it's not as often, or the frequency isn't as often, but the move can be very drastic because it's not like, we can wait for the Fed. It's like, no, we can't sell these loans at this anymore. We're not booking these rates. We're not going to
not doing that again.
No. So it's a little different.
So this is my understanding of the non-QM space. I'm not in it, never been a lender. I just understand how kind of money works. So what has been happening in the non-QM space is, I'm not talking about velocity. I'm talking about the space. There's been a lot of loans booked over the last 90 days. That all ends up in some package being securitized, right?
Correct.
It's $100 million. It's 50 loans or what? It's a package, right? It's not one loan. It's a package. Then everybody shops it around, Wall Street, insurance companies, maybe some high net worth individuals, whatever. And you say, hey, we want, I don't know, $10 million for this or whatever it is. And they're like, no, we need a little bit more. So you have to lower it, which means the rates go up. And basically what we're seeing by the floor rate moves is what we're finding out. I'm just trying to daisy chain it together. Wall Street is like, no, we want a better return on our money today. And it's collectively, because if there was one buyer that would have bought it at the old price, it would have been sold. You only need one buyer. But now what Wall Street is saying, because the Fed's going to be aggressive, they think a big move in March and maybe more is coming. They're like, we're going to step back. We'll still buy it, but we need an extra, you need to goose this a little bit. And that means that future loans need to be repriced, hence the floor rate moves. That's kind of what I see.
Right. And again, it's just, you know, if non-QM lenders are, you know, selling their securitizations on the secondary market, and they are having to compete against other investments that are going to give you a higher yield, then that's just the nature of the business. Like, why would that investor invest into something like mine that has some innate risk because it's, you know, marketed a different way and packaged as far as, you know, stated income versus a 10-year, you know, bond or something like that with no risk at close to what my rate is, or even better. So that's really what it comes down to. So bond market's gone up, you know, everything else around it. So that's where everything's just, you know, it trickled down at some point, because to use the analogy, we all kind of dip from the same well. We all kind of get our money from the same place, from Wall Street or from the government. So it affects one, it affects us all.
That's one thing I think that's so funny. The non-QM space, again, my opinion only, not your words, my words. You know, there's, I don't know, a dozen, 5 dozen. There's some limited, there's some finite number of buyers, and you all sell to the same buyers. Maybe you have better relationships here, better there, but it's the same list of 75 buyers. And
roughly.
I'm picking a number out of my ass, but whatever. As far as I know, it's 750 buyers, but there's just a finite list. And when they all get scared, they'll still buy, but they want a bigger return. So that's why floor rates move. And more importantly, that's why floor rates move infrequently. It's because you're reacting to the last sale, where Matt, the mortgage guy, man, he's getting 2 or 3 alerts a day going, geez, this is getting worse. It's just
buckle up.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
So mine's like a rocket sometimes, but his is like a roller coaster.
It's crazy. But, well, do me a favor. Somebody wants to get some deal done, because non-QM lending is still a valuable space. I love what you guys are doing.
Oh no.
How do you want them to reach out?
Again, timing's everything. If they want to reach out to me, sdow@velocitymortgage.com. Please put in the subject line ORAAT as far as the acronym for one rental at a time. Please don't forget the second A. In the body of the email, just a quick synopsis, at least the property address, if not the address, city and state, property type, desired terms, your mid-FICO score, best number to reach you back at, and we can kind of speed up the back and forth emails and such. But no, it's still very valuable. With the timing with Will, again, he was getting loans at that time when rates had jumped above 4% on 30-year fixed money for residential full doc. He was below 4% on his commercial property. So the sooner you start, the better we can kind of see if these, you know, make sense. And then, you know, he just got lucky. And I don't want to keep teasing that, but, you know, don't want to be a rate chaser all the time where you're risking what you have on the table to try to get an extra quarter, an extra eighth. I use the analogy, it's like going to Vegas and you're putting down $10,000 to win 100. It doesn't make sense, right? It's the other way around. So you don't want to risk what you have on the table to try to make them just a little bit more. Oh, this guy's telling me 5 1/4. Oh, this guy. We're all experiencing kind of the same things, and people kind of understand that in the big picture, especially the more savvier investors like Will, who didn't, you know, let me shop you around. Let me see. No, 399. Oh, what's the cost? Done. Let's do it. Boom, 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 boom. So he was just like, how fast? How many more can you do? So he understood that it wasn't about, you know, just the rate. It was about the speed, the effectiveness, and we were still in historically low rates. It just wasn't, you know, going to be for free, basically. And he understood that. So, but with that being said, it's still very, very competitive right now, at least with the type of financing we could do with the blanket loans, 30-year fixed money still. And you can still buy down, you know, to 5 1/4, which is our new floor. And you can still add that interest only option to it. I know you don't really like that as much, but for certain people, for certain properties, you know, it might be useful just given their specific needs. But other than that, man, thanks again for the time.
You got it, brother. Take care.
All right, bud.